Want to drive? CarMax.
Algunas noches nacen para quedarse.
El problema no es quererte.
Ricardo Arjona.
Es que tú no sientas lo
que el seco no dijo.
Sábado 14 de marzo, Chase Center. Boletos a la venta ya en Ticketmaster.com.
Ricardo Arjona en San Francisco. Se parte de la historia.
All members of Dub Nation know 2 essential truths. 1, the Warriors have the best point guard in the history of the game. And 2, the very best planes in the sky are United. New planes are joining the United fleet every week, decked out with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, and power at every seat, and bigger overhead bins to fit everyone's carry-on, or giant foam fingers. Download the United app and book your next trip today. United Airlines, proud to be the official airline of the Golden State Warriors.
No matter what you're eating during today's Warriors game, sharing a jar of Mazzetta makes it better. Just pop open that red cap to give your favorite snacks something extra, like crunchy jalapenos on nachos or zesty peppercini on sandwiches and sliders. It's just better. A part of who you are. So grab your family and friends and share some unforgettable flavors with Mazzetta.
The Warriors and Chase Center are teaming up with DoorDash to fight food waste and food insecurity, one event at a time. Through our Pass the Plate program, all unserved food from Chase Center events is safely packaged and delivered to local nonprofits to help people in our community who are experiencing food insecurity. Thousands of meals have already been donated this month. To learn more, visit chasecenter.com/passtheplate.
The Curry pump fake, flyby, 3-ball, with the buzzer sounding!
You've been listening to Golden State Warriors basketball on the Warriors Radio Network. Presented by United Airlines. For tickets, visit Warriors.com or call 888-GSW-WHO.
Don't you wish you were here?
This Odyssey Sports broadcast was presented by ZipRecruiter. Looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Shot clock is off, and this will probably be the final score, 111-85. As Pat Spencer dribbles out the clock, and a huge win for Golden State here in Minnesota. Your final score, Warriors 111, Timberwolves 85. With the win, the Warriors stopped the mini two-game skid, and they improve to 26-21 on the season. The Timberwolves dropped to 27-19, and now they're only a game and a half behind Minnesota in the standings, as Minnesota's in 7th, the Warriors in 8th in the West. These two teams will do it again tomorrow night.
Yeah, much needed win for the Warriors. Welcome in. It's Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you. That was the great Kevin Dana doing an awesome job filling in for Tim Roy, who you might have heard and watched on the TV side of things today, filling in for Fitz alongside Buki on NBC Sports Bay Area. That means we got Kevin Dana here on 95.7 The Game. And again, did a great job, as always, filling in. It's Mark Randy with you now, though, on Warriors wrap-up here on 95.7 The Game as the Dubs beat the T-Wolves in Minnesota 111-85. The Warriors took advantage of a team that was not playing anywhere near their best basketball. Minnesota has now lost 5 games in a row. This one, though, by far their worst. Their previous 4 losses consecutively, all by 5 points or fewer, and you got some good teams mixed in there as well, like Houston, like San Antonio. This one, though, the T-Wolves, they never had it, not from the minute this game started all the way till the very end. They never found a rhythm. They ultimately lose this game, final score 111-85. Turnovers were the story of this game. Minnesota committed 26 turnovers 26 turnovers. The Warriors committed 12. The Warriors scored 25 points off of Minnesota's 26 turnovers. The T-Wolves scored just 13 points off the Warriors' 12 turnovers. It's a game the Warriors, they won by 26 points. The Warriors scored 25 points off of turnovers. So that's kind of the basketball game right there. Warriors also won basically every hustle stat, if you want to call it that. Points in the paint, the Warriors were plus 22. Second chance points, the Warriors were plus 5. Fast break points, Warriors were plus 8. Turnovers, again, the Warriors committed 14 fewer turnovers than the T-Wolves. And points off of turnovers, the Warriors were plus 12 there as well. And they win this game 111-85. It was, I think, a pretty simple goal for the Warriors in this little mini series versus the T-Wolves, right? They played today. They also play again tomorrow. Win one of these two games. Minnesota's a really good basketball team. They're right ahead of you in the standings in the Western Conference. You cannot lose both. If you are holding on to hope that you could climb out of the play-in, and I know things got a whole lot more difficult once Jimmy Butler went down with his torn ACL, but if you want to hold on to hope that you can do that, you can't lose both of these games. And the Warriors, they get the front end. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I would imagine it will be a relatively short-handed Warriors team tomorrow. We know no Horford. We know no Melton because they don't play back-to-backs, and they played today. Steph Curry, you could kind of see him limping around a little bit in the second half of this game, and he was questionable coming in with a knee issue that popped up for him yesterday. We'll talk more about that as we go along, but bottom line is the Warriors, they got this one. It doesn't mean tomorrow is a game that you don't try to win, but it becomes a little less important because you got the job done here today. It was a really weird game. Obviously, all of the circumstances going on, all of the stuff that's happening in Minnesota, and that's not even a fair way to put it. There is a lot happening in Minneapolis. It's been happening in Minneapolis for the entire month, and we're going to hear from Steve Kerr coming up in a little bit. I know he mentioned it in his post-game presser. He talked about it, of course, pre-game as well. This game was supposed to be played yesterday in Minnesota. It did not get played, and the NBA smartly postponing the game because of everything happening. And Steve Kerr essentially saying after the game, and we will hear it coming up in a little bit here on Warriors Wrap Up, that the environment in inside Target Center was strange, and you could kind of feel it. It was not loud at any moment. It felt like the fans didn't really have their minds and their hearts in this game, and I can't really blame them. And it really felt like the Timberwolves never locked in and never focused on this basketball game. Now, credit the Warriors for taking advantage and getting the job done and turning around in the third quarter. Because I don't know how you guys felt, and I want to hear from you guys. Let me know, 888-957-9570. Mark Randy with you here on Warriors Wrap Up. The way that I felt was the Warriors were not playing well enough in the first half. They let the Timberwolves hang around. The Timberwolves in the first half were as bad, if not worse, than they were in the second half. They were absolutely terrible. They were a train wreck. In the first half, the Warriors led by as many as 11. It was 47-36 with 3 minutes left in the second quarter. But even at that point, you kind of felt like the Warriors should be up by at least like 17 or 18 points with how poorly Minnesota is playing. The turnover margin at one point was 11-0. The Timberwolves had committed 11 turnovers before the Warriors even committed one turnover. At halftime, the turnover edge was 16-5. 16 turnovers by the Timberwolves and 5 by the Warriors. Yet, it was a 1-point game because the Timberwolves closed the first half on a 10-0 run. So the overarching feeling that I had at halftime, and really for the majority of the first half, was, Minnesota just gave you... they gifted you that half on a silver platter. They could not play any worse. They committed 16 turnovers in that first half, and the Warriors only led by a single point thanks to a 10-0 Minnesota run over the final 3 minutes of that second quarter. I don't know what you guys all were expecting, but I was expecting Minnesota to at least figure it out a little bit in the second half, and this was going to be a basketball game. For the Warriors, though, Minnesota did not figure it out. They immediately committed a handful more turnovers to begin the third quarter, and then what changed for the Warriors in the third quarter was they started making shots. The Warriors in the first half shot just 16 for 48 from the field. That's 33% from the field. And they were just 8 for 31 from downtown, 26%. So 33% from the field and 26% from downtown. That's the Warriors in the first half. Makes sense why 16 Minnesota turnovers in the first half only turned into 11 Warriors points off of turnovers, because they could not make a shot. 33% from the field and 26% from downtown. What changed? Well, Minnesota in the third quarter kept committing turnovers. 6 more turnovers in the third for Minnesota. Actually, they did better in the third than they did in the first half, right? 16 turnovers in the first half. I'm going to say just 6. 6 in a quarter is still a lot, but compared to what it was in the first half, it was an improvement. Just 6 turnovers in the third quarter for Minnesota, but the Warriors score 11 points off of those turnovers, and then they got their shots to fall. After shooting 33% from the field in the first half, going 16 for 48, the Warriors made 16 shots in the third quarter alone, went 16 for 27, and 5 for 11 from downtown in the third. So what was the difference in the from the first half to the third quarter? The Warriors made shots. Because the turnovers for Minnesota kept happening, the Warriors just executed offensively, made shots, took advantage of Minnesota's terrible play, and built a big lead. The third quarter edge was 38-17 in favor of the Warriors. A 1-point halftime lead turned into a 22-point lead after 3 quarters. And then the Warriors were capable and just were able to kind of cruise in the fourth quarter. Steph checked out pretty early. He also walked back to the locker room before the game was officially over. He was questionable with a knee issue that popped up yesterday. Steve Kerr talked about him maybe not playing tomorrow. It's TBD. I would honestly expect him to not play, given that it's a back-to-back, and given that I think you could see him favoring that left knee just a little bit over the course of this game. He also got stepped on at one point. Maybe that had something to do with it. But just good news that the Warriors did not need to overexert Steph, and they ultimately still win this game by running away with it in the fourth quarter, and in the second half specifically. 111-85 was the final. The Warriors got plenty of support from up and down their roster today. Steph had 26 points. Got to the line 9 times, which is a great sign if you're the Warriors. Steph getting to the line 9 times without Jimmy Butler is something that if that were able to happen consistently, the Warriors would have a whole lot of a better chance of doing something here without Jimmy Butler. Of course, it's going to be difficult, but if you can get Steph to the line 9 times or somewhere near there every single game, the Warriors are going to create some free points that way, and that's going to go a long way. But you also had 19 points from Moses Moody, who was making his shots today. And now over the last couple of weeks, he's had some moments where he's really struggled shooting the basketball, but the bigger games and the better shooting games are becoming more common. Moody, 19 points in 28 minutes, 7 for 15 from the field, 5 for 9 from downtown. You also got 12 from D'Anthony Melton and Brandon Pajemski. By the way, I told you over 11.5 for Melton today. He finishes with 12. That's barely a win, but it is a win. I'll count it. He was 4 for 13 from the field. Not an efficient day for D'Anthony Melton, but scored 12 points. How about Pajemski? Pajemski scores just 12 points, but he had 4 of the biggest buckets in the game. The Warriors opened that third quarter on a big run, and it's where this game changed. It was a 6-0 run to begin the third. It was an 11-3 run. It was a 15-5 run. Ultimately became a 38-17 third quarter. Pajemski scored 8 of the Warriors' first 15 points in that third quarter, all within the first 4 minutes of that quarter, and he got the Warriors off to a really good start to begin the third, and that was the run that changed this basketball game. That was the run that decided this basketball game. So credit to Pajemski for what he did in that third quarter, specifically to open up this second half, and the Warriors used that again to kind of cruise to a victory in the second half of this one. It was also what the Warriors did defensively. Again, this was kind of a hard game to say, well, the Warriors shut down Minnesota. Minnesota felt relatively uninterested in playing basketball, and with everything happening in Minneapolis, I don't really blame them. This game was supposed to be played yesterday. It did not happen. Steve Kerr said pregame, we're leaning into Minnesota. Whatever they wanted to do, we're good with in terms of postponing, delaying the game, whatever they needed. The Timberwolves, of course, live in Minneapolis and have been living the reality of what's going on there for this entire month. It's obviously going to affect the Timberwolves more than it's going to affect the Warriors, and I think we saw that on the floor. But with that said, this was the Timberwolves team that has given the Warriors a lot of trouble, and the Warriors came in and they shut them down. Only 85 points for Minnesota. They had a 27-point second quarter. That's the highest points in a quarter this game for Minnesota. 27 points. 19 in the first, 27 in the second, 17 in the third, 22 in the fourth. Anthony Edwards was great scoring the basketball. Now, he committed 8 turnovers. 8 of the 26 for Minnesota were from Anthony Edwards. But Anthony Edwards scores 32 points, goes 13 for 20 from the field, 4 for 7 from downtown, also had 11 rebounds. Donte DiVincenzo was great in the first half. He finishes with 22 points, but goes 7 for 19 from the field. In the first half, he had 17 points on 6 of 9 shooting. Donte DiVincenzo did. In the second half, it all changed. Donte DiVincenzo, he had 22 points on 7 of 19 in the whole game. In the first half was 17 for 6 of 9. In the second half, Donte DiVincenzo had just 5 points, was 1 for 10 from the field, and 1 for 7 from downtown. Some of it is he missed some open shots. It also is the Warriors paid closer attention to him and helped take him out of the game in the second half. Only 1 for 10 shooting in the second half. What about what Draymond Green did defensively on Julius Randle? Randle has hurt the Warriors a lot of late. Think about that playoff series. I personally was shocked by how well Julius Randle played against the Warriors in that playoff series last year. And I could bring it back up here. In that postseason series versus the Warriors, Randle had, in game 1, 18 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, not anything amazing there. But then in their 4 wins, he had 24, 7, and 11, 24, 10, and 12, 31, 5, and 3, 29, 8, and 5. He dominated that matchup specifically versus Draymond Green last year, did Julius Randle, and tonight he did not do anything against the Warriors. He was also really good versus the Warriors in mid-December when these two teams played in Golden State. In that game, Julius Randle, 27 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. And efficient shooting, doing it as well. Tonight, though, Julius Randle, 11 points, 3 of 11 from the field, and 0 for 4 from downtown. He had 5 rebounds and 6 assists, but he's only scoring 11 points on 11 shots. That's a credit to Draymond Green and what he did defensively on him in this game. So Draymond got the better of Julius Randle in this one. There's no doubt. After Randle had really hurt Draymond and the Warriors in like their last 5 matchups, the one earlier this season, and then the last 4 games of that postseason series, which coincided with Steph going down, of course, Minnesota winning all 4 games and ousting the Warriors in just 5 games. But that was one of the keys in this game as well, was limiting Julius Randle, and you can credit the whole Warriors team. But specifically, it was Draymond Green who did a really good job on him. It was Al Horford who started. The Warriors went with another different starting lineup. Al Horford started for the Warriors alongside Steph, Podziemski, Moody, and Draymond. So it was Al that was checking Rudy Gobert. Draymond was able then to roam and defend Julius Randle, and he did a really good job on Julius Randle in this one. The Warriors win. Again, the final score, 111-85. This was, bottom line, it's just you got to find a way to win basketball games. And over the course of the Warriors season this year, there's been so many moments where the Warriors have every opportunity to win a game, where things are breaking their way, and they just haven't been able to take advantage. So, this game feels strange because the advantage the Warriors were given was not one on the injury report list. In fact, the Warriors were one that was at a disadvantage there, right? No Jimmy Butler, obviously. No Kuminga in this game. Steph was able to play, and he played, but you could tell his knee was bothering him a little bit in that second half, and he still fought through it and did what Steph always does. He scored 26 points, 7 of 18 from the field. Not the most efficient game, but Steph was not bad at all. He was largely very good in this game. It was not the advantage that was given to them on the injury report. It's just the advantage of, it's unfortunate, but it's the reality is that Minnesota is hurting right now, not because of what's happening in their locker room, but because of what's happening in that community of Minneapolis and the Twin Cities. And it felt like this was a game for Minnesota where they were out there running through the motions. And as we focus on just basketball, it's really difficult to do because what's happening up there, it's such a sad situation. I'm lucky to just be able to work in sports and try to put that stuff on the back burner. It's incredibly difficult to do that. But if we just focus on basketball for a moment, the Warriors were given that advantage. And far too often this season, the Warriors are given an advantage of some kind, and they hadn't been able to take advantage. And I'm talking about pre-Jimmy Butler ACL tear as well. How many times would the Warriors take on a team down their star or superstar or a grouping of quality players, and the Warriors would kind of sleepwalk through that game and lose it? It's happened countless times. Day before Halloween, October 30th in Milwaukee, Giannis sits. He's a surprise downgrade to out in that game, and the Warriors lose to Milwaukee without Giannis. Milwaukee with Giannis is a bad basketball team. They're 18-26 this year. Milwaukee is. Now, take Giannis away from that team. What is Milwaukee? Really bad, and the Warriors lost to that team. It was Ryan Rollins, the former Warrior, who dominated that game. The very next game, two days later on the 1st of November, the day after Halloween, Indiana, of course, down Tyrese Halliburton, but also down like 3 other starters and 5 rotation guys. They beat the Warriors in Indiana. Final score 114-109 in that game. There's other instances. In Orlando, the Warriors were in Orlando versus the Magic. The Magic were down Paolo Banchero. Now, maybe you think Franz Wagner is their best player, and I wouldn't argue with you there necessarily, but there's no doubt that Paolo Banchero is a really important piece for Orlando. Orlando, though, said no big deal. We beat the Warriors anyway without Paolo Banchero. 123-113, the final score there. What about a home game? Just before Thanksgiving, November 26th, the Rockets in town. Rockets were without Kevin Durant in that game, and the Rockets won that game 104-100. And then more recently, the Warriors were in LA versus the Clippers. The Clippers were down. They were down James Harden in that game, and the Clippers won 103-102. So, like, the point is, the Warriors have had breaks go their way. We're just purely talking about from a basketball point of view here, right? The Warriors have had things that have worked out in their favor, and they have time and time again this year lost and not taken advantage of those outside circumstances. And the Warriors did tonight because Minnesota clearly was not ready to play basketball, and I don't blame them for that. This is a really, really, really bad situation that's going on in Minneapolis right now, but the Warriors, They won the basketball game. Final score tonight, 111-85 over the T-Wolves in Minnesota. The Warriors, they had to win one of these 2 games versus Minnesota. They got the job done today. They're now 5 games over 500 at 26-21. Meanwhile, the T-Wolves sit at 27-19. And as we look at the NBA standings, specifically in the Western Conference, this was a big game as well, because if you have any hope of climbing out of the play-in, you had to win one of these games. You're now only a game and a half behind Minnesota, and Minnesota, they've now lost 5 games in a row, and they're in danger of slipping down towards where the Warriors are. Minnesota's the 7, which is the top seed in the play-in tournament. The Warriors are the 8, just a game and a half behind. Phoenix is still playing quality basketball. They're the 6th seed, and they have a half-game advantage over Minnesota currently. The Warriors a game and a half behind Minnesota. They're 2 games behind Phoenix. Phoenix is the 6th. The Warriors are the 8th. The Trailblazers now are 2.5 games behind the Warriors. Blazers in the 9 seed, and the Clippers playing much better basketball of late. They've climbed all the way up to the 10 seed. They're currently 2 games behind Portland, and they are 4.5 games behind the Warriors. Warriors in the 8, Portland in the 9, and the Clippers in the 10. So, the Warriors do have some leeway. They have some room to breathe at that 8 spot. But again, if we're talking about the Warriors getting out of the play-in and getting up to the top 6 seeds in the West, you had to win at least one of these 2 games versus Minnesota, the team right ahead of you, right ahead of you in the Western standings, and the Warriors, they got that job done tonight with the win. Again, final score 111-85, Warriors over the T-Wolves. I thought it was interesting that the Warriors went to Al Horford in the starting lineup, and I know a lot of people have been clamoring for maybe Melton in the starting lineup as opposed to Brandon Podziemski. I think specifically what happened tonight in the Warriors starting lineup again was Steph Curry, Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody, Draymond Green, and Al Horford. I think specifically what happened tonight was Al Horford in so that could free up Draymond Green to defend Julius Randle. That worked really well. Randle only had 11 points on 11 shots tonight after he's really hurt the Warriors the last number of times that they've played each other. And I know the other part of this that has maybe frustrated Warrior fans is Podziemski as a starter instead of maybe DeAnthony Melton, or maybe when Kuminga's available, Jonathan Kuminga. And I think that is fair. The numbers do suggest over the course of both this season and Podziemski's career, he is a better player just in terms of percentages. He's a better shooter percentage-wise when he's coming off of the bench than when he starts. Maybe there is something to that. I think it's probably more to do with the role that he's asked to fill. And generally, he's starting when there is an absence of some kind that forces him kind of up in the pecking order a little bit. And I think it's more indicative of the role he's being asked to play as opposed to whether he starts or not. Those two things are, of course, related. But let's just say he came off the bench. Still, when he plays, being asked to do the same things he's being asked to do when he starts, I think that correlation would kind of disconnect in terms of is he better as a starter or off the bench. But what's interesting is Steve Kerr has said over and over and over again this season that it's almost impossible to start Al Horford because of his minutes restriction. And you look at what Al Horford has done as I bring up his game log. He played 23 minutes tonight, scored 10 points, was good, 4 for 7 from the field and 2 for 5 from downtown. Al Horford, let's just take a look at his last number of games played. Starting on that home win versus Portland on the 13th, 12 days ago. 20 minutes, 21 minutes, 19 minutes, 19 minutes, 26 minutes on Thursday in Dallas, and then 23 minutes tonight. Largely, we're looking at him topping out just a little more than 20 minutes a night. That 26 minutes the other night is an outlier, and the 23 minutes in Minnesota tonight is a little bit of an outlier, but not much. The point is that he's playing, on average, like, for example, the month of January, he's averaging 19 minutes per game. Let's just say the Warriors feel comfortable playing him 23 minutes at the most. Let's just say that. If he's starting, that means he's also going to start the second half. That means he's going to play, a 6-minute chunk at least to begin each half. That's 12 minutes of the 22, 23 minutes you need him to play, which means for the entire rest of the game, he can only play around 10 minutes. And so it's kind of a lot of play to begin a half and then sit out for a long time if you're Al Horford. And what Steve Kerr has said is if that's the case, we can only play him X amount of minutes. It makes more sense to have one of the larger chunks of him sitting out be the beginning of each half so that he can stay fresher and ready once he actually gets into the basketball game, because that is less time sitting and waiting in game. If you just make him wait early in the game, then it kind of frees him up for more minutes later. That is the general thought. It's why he hasn't started a lot. Today was only his second start of the season. He started one game in Philadelphia earlier this year when the Warriors were down almost all their veterans. No Steph, no Jimmy. I believe Draymond played in that game, but I think he left early. That was the only other case of Al Horford starting a game this year. And then you had tonight, which was interesting. It also, I think, signals that Quentin Post is just not working right now for the Warriors. And a lot of it is the three-point shot. Quentin Post, let's bring up his game log because the three-point shot has not been working of late for Quentin Post. On the season, he's now shooting 34.8% from downtown. He was 41% from downtown last year. That's a pretty major drop-off for Quentin Post. In the month of January, he was shooting 37% from downtown. Not terrible. He had a couple of better games. He was 4 for 5 versus Miami and 2 for 3 versus Toronto. Other than that, though, I'm looking at a 1 for 5, a 1 for 6, a 1 for 3, 0 for 2. Tonight, 1 for 4. his three-point shot has left him, at least for stretches this season. And if he's not hitting his three-point shot, it's hard for him to stay on the floor. He's been a whole lot better defensively, which is great for the Warriors as a big. But it's also difficult to play a big at the 5 next to Draymond if that big is not hitting shots. It kind of runs into a similar issue the Warriors felt they've had with Jonathan Kuminga at times. Not the case anymore because Jimmy Butler is out now, and that frees up a spot for a player that isn't like a knockdown three-point shooter. But if you are trying to play next to Draymond Green and you are a big, it's almost a prerequisite for you to be able to shoot the basketball. And that's what Quentin Post should be able to do, but he hasn't been able to do as much. Meanwhile, Al Horford is shooting the three ball pretty darn well. 2 for 5 tonight, had a 2 for 4 game, had a 1 for 3 game. His three-point shot is coming around a bit, and he does a little bit more defensively despite his old age. A great shot blocker and a pretty good rebounder despite being 39 years old. That's part of the reason why. I would not expect that to continue. What I do think might happen at some point, and this is maybe the larger point, perhaps where fans are getting frustrated, and I don't blame fans for feeling this way. It's the Podziemski starting or coming off the bench question, because it seems to me that there is an obvious move to where Podziemski can come off the bench and get into a rhythm that way if DeAnthony Melton starts. But similar to what happens with Al Horford, one, both those guys are not playing back-to-back, so you can't have a consistent starting lineup when those guys are missing either the front or the back end of every back-to-back, which is going to happen tomorrow. Neither Al Horford nor DeAnthony Melton will play tomorrow. But also, similar to Al Horford, Melton has a minutes restriction. He's capped out at about 25 minutes right now. So if DeAnthony Melton can only play 25 minutes in a game and 6 of those minutes come in to begin each half, you're kind of limited for the rest of the half. But if the Warriors feel comfortable doing it with Al Horford, then you could maybe do it here or there with Melton as well. What I will say is Steve Kerr has, not ruled out the possibility of eventually DeAnthony Melton being approved to play 30 minutes a night. And I say approved because it's got to come from the Warriors' medical staff. It's not Melton himself saying it. The medical staff has, their hands in all these players and are, gauging when they're ready to take on more of a role. Melton, if he's able to at some point this season play 30 minutes, which Steve Kerr, as recently as maybe 2 weeks ago, said doesn't seem to be anytime soon, but did expect it to happen at some point, it's 10 times easier to start Melton if he can play 30 minutes a night. And if that ever becomes the Warriors' reality, I do think that DeAnthony Melton should slide into a starting spot alongside Steph Curry, because that seems to be like the Warriors' best 1-2 punch offensively right now without Jimmy Butler available anymore. I mean, right? I'm not crazy, right? 888-957-9570. Melton is clearly this Warriors team second best scorer, offensive player in general, right? It's Steph Curry, and then it's DeAnthony Melton. I'll hear an argument for Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga, though, is out, and we got an update from the Warriors today about Kuminga. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. Doesn't seem like he's going to be playing tomorrow, and it doesn't seem like he's going to be playing the rest of this road trip either, although that's me speculating. I don't know that for sure. The update on Jonathan Kuminga from the Warriors today, quote, Golden State Warriors forward Jonathan Kuminga, who exited Thursday's game at Dallas with 3:52 remaining in the second quarter due to a sore left knee, underwent an MRI on Friday. The MRI confirmed that Kuminga has a bone bruise as a result of the hyperextension injury. His progress will be monitored, and a reevaluation date will be determined in the coming days. That's the update from the Warriors on Jonathan Kuminga. That last line to me is the most important line. Again, quote, a reevaluation date will be determined in the coming days. That means, one, they don't know when he's going to be reevaluated, not when he's going to return. They also don't know that, but they don't know when he's going to be reevaluated. Normally with these updates, the Warriors will say something along the lines of, and he'll be reevaluated again in 3 days or in a week or before next weekend or something like that. That's not what this update is, which makes me think maybe this is going to be an absence more than just a game or two. But we shall see on that front. But without Jonathan Kuminga, there is no argument in my mind that D'Anthony Melton is the Warriors' second best offensive player, and he makes life easier on Steph when he's on the floor with his ability to defend, first of all, also to dribble, create an advantage, and create a bucket for himself or an open shot for somebody else. So Melton, assuming that he can get up to maybe playing 28 or 30 minutes a night before this season is over, I think he should move into the starting lineup, and that would kick Podziemski back to the bench as well. 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. Let's go to Chardol in Fremont, who wants to join the conversation here on Warriors Wrap-Up. What's up, Chardol? You're on with Mark Randy on Warriors Wrap-Up.
Hey, Mark Randy. I'm a big fan of 95.7 The Game. I tune into your show. On the radio after a Warriors win. As the Warriors take down the Minnesota Timberwolves by a final score 111-85. I think this was a great victory for the Dubs. They put all their heart and soul on the line. They came out and played a good game of basketball. I'll keep supporting you as much as I can, and it was great calling it to Warriors Wrap-Up, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Thanks, Chardol. You too. Always appreciate hearing from you. Yeah, I mean, the Warriors, 111-85, they seem to be like the team that was more interested in winning this basketball game. I would imagine Chris Finch, who normally is pretty hard on his team, I would imagine he was pretty upset with the way that his team played. Now, again, there's extenuating circumstances, and it's been going on for weeks now in Minneapolis. And what happened yesterday is just the latest example of it. And it's why the game was postponed from yesterday to today. Again, this was what I shared on our pregame show today, but this is just the lead of a story from the Associated Press on why the game was postponed. Quote, the NBA game between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Golden State Warriors was postponed on Saturday afternoon following another fatal shooting by a federal officer in Minneapolis. It's another fatal shooting in the state of Minnesota, in the area of Minneapolis in the last 3 weeks. That's what's on the hearts and minds of the Timberwolves right now, and the Warriors came in, and it kind of felt like they were able to control this basketball game, partially because Minnesota is just not ready to play basketball right now, and I do not blame them at all. But they took advantage, and they won. Again, the final score, 111-85. Let's go back out to the phones before we hit a quick break. We're going to hear from Steve Kerr coming up on the other side as well. You're going to want to hear what he had to say post-game. 111-85, Dubs knock off the T-Wolves. Let's go to Eric in Millbrae who wants to weigh in. What's up, Eric? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up.
Hey, what's going on then? Even with the turmoil going on, once you step on that court in the city of Minnesota, once you step on that court, you got to be able to block it out. Just not just in basketball, in all sports. You see guys going through trials and tribulations, in their personal lives, and even maybe something going on, in city. I understand things are sensitive right now, but you're the Timberwolves. You're slumping. I think they've lost 4 or 5 in a row.
5 in a row
They're really
now.
Falling right now in the playoff standings, and so when you're looking at a Warriors team with, that's so undermanned at this point in time, they're probably thinking we always handle the Warriors pretty well. And now without 2 of their main guys, and Butler, even Kuminga, who was supposed to be the fill-in with Butler out, they're probably thinking this is going to be a win for them. And, I didn't have a good feeling once they cut it down to 1 going to halftime, thinking, oh, boy, this is where Minnesota is going to go and dig. Because I didn't know how the Warriors are going to generate enough offense with the exception of Curry just going nuclear and carrying them, to victories at this point in time. So I'm just glad that second half, that defense really turned on. I know Minnesota was a lot of it was self-inflicted, but Warriors played that part in too in terms of creating turnovers and opportunities for themselves and really just locking them down. And I expect that the Warriors are going to win these games. They're going to be close and tight, especially a talented team like the Wolves with a top 5 player in my mind in Ant-Man. So to blow them out like it just tells you the guts of this team, because the Warriors are really desperate right now for wins, and they're throwing out a hodgepodge cast around Curry. And it's going to take all of them and like a straighten numbers like they used to win when KD was in town. So that you're seeing that guys just stepping up big time. As you mentioned, will guys like Richards got to step in and provide them. Melton is probably going to be the second best option right now in terms of the offensive production. But Moody was really impressive tonight. Even Podziemski has some big stretches. So this is the type of games they're going to have at this point around Curry to pull out these type of games, and really impressive tonight because I honestly didn't think they would win the game. I thought Minnesota would take over the second half, taking them. I'm glad the Warriors really took it to them, and hopefully they can pull it off tomorrow. Is Curry going to play? What's the status of him?
Eric, it's a good question, and I appreciate your call. We're going to hear from Steve Kerr. We're going to take a break here in a minute, and then we'll hear from Steve Kerr. I can tell you that Steve Kerr has not said one way or another if Steph is going to play. I don't know the exact word or phrase that he used, but I think maybe it's a game time decision or TBD, questionable for tomorrow. I don't expect him to play. That's my personal read on the situation. I think he was clearly favoring that knee, which Kerr said pregame started bothering Steph yesterday when they were getting some work in before that originally scheduled game yesterday. He was feeling better today, which is why he played. He was questionable today, but played. You could see him, I think, kind of favoring it a little bit in the second half. I know he also got his foot stepped on at one point. He also left and went to the locker room when there were still 3 minutes left in this game. The game was over. It was decided. The result was not in the balance. But Steph left the bench and went back to the locker room with like 2.5 or 3 minutes left. So that, to me, all points toward it's a back-to-back tomorrow. That all points toward Steph not playing tomorrow. But again, that's just me guessing there or reading between the lines. We don't know that for sure. There's been no official decision. But we know no Melton and we know no Horford already. I would not be shocked if it's no Steph Curry, and maybe they also find a way to not play Draymond, and they say, all right, we're going to let all our veterans take this back-to-back off, and we'll gear up for what's coming up next, which is Utah on Wednesday. So we shall see. We'll talk more about that. Plus, we'll look around the Western Conference, and we've got to hear from Steve Kerr post-game as he addressed the media as the Warriors knocked off the T-Wolves 111-85. Much-needed win. It's the first win in the post-Jimmy Butler ACL era. Warriors now 1-2 since Butler tore his ACL. Okay, time for a break. When we come back, more Warriors wrap up. Mark Randy with you, Steve Kerr, and more next right here on 95.7 The Game.
Is life insurance part of your New Year's resolution? Listen, if you're young and healthy, it's simple, and any old agent can get it done. But if you're 50 to 60 years old with a touch of wide waistband syndrome or have correlating health glitches, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider. Big Lou doesn't bait and switch you in with young and healthy rates only to clobber you with the truth down the road. $1 million of coverage could be as low as $200 per month. And unlike that treadmill, this one won't collect dust in the corner. Call Term Provider, speak with Big Lou, and find out how much he can save you on your new $1 million life insurance policy. Start this year off with peace of mind by calling Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. For affordable term life insurance, call 800-700-6898 or biglou.com.
You know what? Let's throw a party this year for the big game.
Hey, we can invite our friends over, and all take turns yelling at the TV during the game.
But first, we should get a new TV.
Yeah, like one of the top-rated brands, Samsung, LG, or Sony.
Okay, so I'll start shopping on the internet, then head over to the Warehouse Club to compare.
But if that's all we do, we'll be sorry.
Why?
Because the best deals on those top-rated TVs are at Video Only, not online or at the club.
Video Only has better deals?
Yep. We could save up to $500 if we shop smart.
Then we could afford a larger model and really impress our friends.
At Video Only, you won't find huge stores with refrigerators or microwaves, but you will find the best deals on top-rated TVs, soundbars, and monitors. Shop around. Just make sure you visit Video Only, because if you don't,
you'll be sorry.
In Mountain View, San Mateo, Union City, Dublin, and San Rafael. Video Only.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
he's the best interview in the Bay Area.
He looked like Steph Curry always has, so he's still got it. I mean, I think the biggest thing when you're 37 is maintaining the level over the course of 82 games.
And he joins Willard and Dibbs every week during the NBA season.
We have a blueprint that everybody's feeling confident with.
Steve Kerr is presented by Great Clips. In sports, success is about team effort, and the same is true for your hair. Great Clips. It's gonna be great.
Earn an accredited MBA in as few as 16 months for about $21K at University of Maryland Global Campus. Explore 10 specializations, including finance, HR, cyber technology, and more. Plus, showcase the value of your MBA with a comprehensive learner record and digitally demonstrate in-demand skills and credentials to employers. No application fee if you apply by February 11th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Right now is the perfect time to head to Saramonte Ford. Huge selection, big savings, and straight up great deals. They've got a lineup of brand new Fords ready to roll. Trucks, SUVs, and hybrids, all priced to move. Whether you're buying or leasing, Saramonte Ford makes it easy, fast, and stress-free. So don't wait. Stop in person right off 280 in Colma or online 24/7 at SaramonteFord.com. That's SaramonteFord.com. Saramonte Ford, your San Francisco Bay Area Ford dealer.
Ragnar the Terrible is interviewing at a big bank. Let's listen.
Everyone, this is 5th century warlord Ragnar the Terrible. He killed it in his first interview. Not literally, but close. Ragnar, what would you do if a customer complained about high loan rates?
I make video presentation.
Star One is nothing like the big banks. We have better rates, minimal fees, and friendly customer service. Star One, in your best interest.
Let's go! You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's your boy Guru, and you know the big game is almost here, and there's nothing better to cash in during America's biggest sporting event with Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Prize Picks is available in California. I downloaded the app, and I've been playing ever since. New feature alert, my favorite, Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. Download the Prize Picks app today and use my code GURU957 to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code GURU957 to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks is good to be right. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for details.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ-FM and HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station and the home of the Golden State Warriors and Valkyries. Always live on the free Odyssey app and now coming to you live from the Laughing Monk Studios.
Moody has it right now, high right side. Gary Payton II into the game for the first time, has it on the left wing. Step off a screen, fires a three and hits it. 86 straight game with a three. He hesitated. It was a double clutch three. Unless your name is Stephen Curry, that is generally not advised. 27-19. Draymond will bring it across half himself. The Michigan State not Wolverine, you can't say that. Spartan off to Curry. Deep three is good for Steph, 90-68. And Steph has his third 3 in 10 attempts. He's got 22.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, welcome back. Mark Randy with you. Warriors wrap up after the Dubs knocked off the T-Wolves in Minnesota 111-85. They snap a mini 2-game losing streak. The Warriors' first win since Jimmy Butler tore his ACL. They won the game in which he tore his ACL versus Miami. But full games that he has not played in since that injury, the Warriors were 0-2. A loss to Toronto on Tuesday, a loss to Dallas on Thursday in Dallas, and then they won this game today, again, 111-85. And I think one of the more encouraging things for the Warriors in this game was that third quarter run and who was doing the scoring. Steph in this game finished with 26 points, 7 of 18 from the field. What did he do in that third quarter? He had just 5 points in the third quarter. There were 1, 2, 3 other players that had more than him in that third quarter. Pajemski scored 8 in the third. Santos scored 7 in the third. Will Richards scored 6 in the third. And you look at what happened during that run, I think what is encouraging for the Warriors is you put together a major run. That third quarter was 38-17. It featured a 19-6 close over the final 4.5. It featured a 6-0 start, a 15-5 start, all of that. And you didn't have a ton from Steph Curry, which I think is really, really encouraging if you're the Warriors. I mean, there was a Will Richard 3. Warriors go up by 12 points. That was their largest lead of the game at that point. Post hit a top-of-the-key three-pointer. Lead is 16. Will Richard, another 3. That made the lead 17 points. Then Buddy Hield, consecutive driving layups. The lead goes up to 21. Guy Santos, then a corner 3. Lead is at 24. Like, this was all rapid succession, and it was all not Steph. Not that Steph played poorly. He did not. He had 26 points. He led the way for the Warriors. Only Anthony Edwards scored more than him in this entire game. But the biggest sequence of the game, I think, was defined by all of the others doing the scoring. And that's a really, really encouraging sign if you're the Warriors. Again, it was Richard. It was Post. It was Buddy Hield. It was Guy Santos. And that's not even naming one of the Warriors' more consistent offensive players in this game from start to finish, which was Moses Moody. Moody had 19 points, was a plus 13 and plus minus in nearly 28 minutes. Got up 15 shots, did Moses, which I like. You let it rip, Moses. Was 5 for 9 from downtown, also had 8 rebounds. Moses had a really, really good game in this one today. So, I mean, the reality for the Warriors without Jimmy Butler is in order to beat good basketball teams, and Minnesota absolutely qualifies as a good basketball team, in order to do that, you need the others to chip in consistently. And tonight you got that from Moses Moody. You got that from Pajemski. 12 points for Pajemski, but 8 came in that really hot stretch to begin the third quarter. He got the Warriors off to a good start out of the halftime break. Those 8 points are worth more than just 8 points alone. I thought Pajemski had himself a pretty good game. You got 12 from D'Anthony Melton. You got 10 from Will Richard. You got 10 from Al Horford. The Warriors had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in double figures today. And if I were to ask you coming into this game, who do you think scores in double figures? Or if I were to tell you 6 guys score in double figures, how would you have gotten all 6 of them right? You would have definitely guessed Steph. You would have definitely guessed D'Anthony Melton. You probably next would have guessed either Moody or Pajemski. They both got there. Moody had 19 and Pajemski had 12. You probably would not have guessed Will Richard. And would you have guessed Al Horford? I don't know. So you got contributions from the guys you needed contributions from, and then you also got contributions from some guys that maybe you would not have necessarily expected that level of contribution from. And with all that, the Warriors got the win. Again, final score 111-85. This is Warriors Wrap-Up. Mark Randy with you here. Let's hear from Steve Kerr. He addressed the media postgame in Minneapolis as the Dubs knocked off the Timberwolves. Again, final score 111-85. Warriors now 26-21. T-Wolves now 27-19. And with the win, the Warriors now only 1.5 games behind Minnesota for the 7th seed in the Western Conference. Okay, here is Steve Kerr post-game in Minnesota today talking about his team's 111-85 win over the Timberwolves.
Just one of your better defensive games this year.
It's a good defensive effort. A lot of activity. I was very pleased with the guys' play at that end for sure.
I think you guys had 20 steals. I mean, why were you so effective disrupting?
I just thought we were active and sharp with our rotations and game plan stuff. We didn't make many mistakes and took advantage of the opportunities that were there. A lot of guys diving on the floor for loose balls. Steph set the tone early. He dove on one. Moses got the three in the corner, gave us some momentum, and BP got on the floor, called a timeout. I mean, those are big plays, and they establish a level of fight that you have to have.
Steve, so often through the years, no matter what's going on off the floor, it always feels like when guys get on the floor, everything else kind of fades away for those moments. Did you feel that from the group today, given what the last 48 hours been like?
Their group was suffering, you know. I thought the vibe in the stands, it was one of the most bizarre, sad games I've ever been a part of. You could feel the somber atmosphere. Their team, we could tell they were struggling with everything that's been going on, and you know what the city has been through. So it was very sad. It was a sad night. We got the win and we're happy about that, but very difficult to see so many people struggling and sad, and you know they came to the game to try to forget about stuff, I guess, but I don't think anything went away for the city and for their team. I think they were suffering from the effects of everything.
You have to talk to your team during the game about that environment at all? I know they probably suffered more than you guys, but did you have a message for them?
I talked to a couple guys individually about it, just how bizarre things felt, you know, but you know, we did what we had to do. We came out and we played a solid game and, you know, took care of the ball and played hard. And so it was a good win. But it's always, you know, a night like tonight, you feel the perspective of everything and the relative insignificance of a game. You know, with an atmosphere like that, knowing everything that's happened, knowing where our country is right now, it's a very, very bizarre evening, I thought. Yeah, we'll see how he's doing. I mean, it was good to only keep him, you know, under 28 minutes, and so we'll see how he's feeling. You know, I imagine Melt and Al are both out. I mean, they will be out, and they're not playing back-to-back. So, you know, we'll see how everybody turns up in the morning and go from there.
Just in general, seeing them again tomorrow, like you mentioned, with everything going on in the city, what do you expect the next 24 hours to look like?
You know, we're visitors in the city, and so we are observing everything. You know, the residents and their team and their staff, they're all feeling it because it's their city. We are feeling it as observers. I think it's a different perspective, and so we are, you know, feeling sad for everything, everybody here, and the fans and the community, and obviously the people who have lost family members, and so, you know, we have to do our job. We have an 8:30 game tomorrow night. So, you know, at least we have some time with the early start today, a little extra rest, and we'll, you know, maybe an optional shoot around tomorrow just if guys want to get out of the hotel. But, you know, just praying for the city and for the people here, and very appreciative and thankful for the hospitality that they've given us. And, yeah, I think we all just feel a sense of empathy for what they're going through.
All right, that's Steve Kerr postgame in Minnesota today as the Warriors knock off the T-Wolves 111-85. Obviously, it comes through different just on the television broadcast, but I think you could tell that the environment was strange, and understandably so, but Steve Kerr spoke to it very well there, that the Warriors are just visitors in the city, and it's hurting Minnesota and the Timberwolves and everybody in that city a whole lot more than the Warriors. Not that the Warriors don't have empathy for what's going on, but it's difficult to just be a visitor into the city and feel probably what the Timberwolves are going through. I also think Steve Kerr was spot on with what he said early and the way the Warriors set the tone defensively. I wrote it down on my notes, but I failed to bring it up just yet. I wrote down Steph Curry diving on the loose ball in the open floor on the defensive half of the floor, very early in this basketball game, which led to a Moses Moody 3 as a big sequence in this game. At that point, it was 2-2. It was 2-2 after Moses Moody had a fast break layup, by the way, on a pass from Steph. Then Jaden McDaniels missed a jumper, got his own offensive rebound. For a moment, Steph knocked it away, dove for the loose ball, got it, and eventually the Warriors found a way to get it to Moses Moody for a fast break 3, and Moses hit the 3. That was the beginning of what turned out to be a 14-0 Warrior run. Those were the first 5 points of that 14-0 Warrior run. That gave the Warriors a 12-point lead at 14-2 because Minnesota scored first. It was their only lead in this game. And from the rest of the way, the Warriors led by double digits almost the entire rest of the game. The few moments of exceptions was when the T-Wolves went on a 10-0 run to close the first half to get within 1 at halftime. But then the Warriors immediately opened the second half on a 15-5 run, and they go back up by double digits, and they never looked away the rest of the way. So setting the tone early was Steph diving on the floor. It was Pajemski stealing an inbound after a Warriors bucket as part of that run. The Warriors called timeout as he was trying to break away from the Minnesota defense, but he stole an inbound pass after a Warriors bucket, and that defensive energy, I think, really jump-started the Warriors, and they win this game 111-85. And the difference really from first half to second half, I don't think the Warriors' energy or effort or enthusiasm really ever waned. The difference was they just made shots. You look at what the numbers were for the Warriors in the first half to the second half, it is a giant difference. For the most part, Minnesota Timberwolves turnovers were constant. They turned the ball over this entire basketball game. The Warriors largely took good care of the basketball. They had 5 turnovers in the first half. I think they had 7 in the second half. Let me confirm that for you as I find the second half box. Yeah, 7 turnovers in the second half for the Warriors, just 5 in the first half. Minnesota committed 16 turnovers in the first half, 10 in the second half. So largely pretty constant was the turnover battle both ways. What changed? The Warriors shooting the rock. The Warriors 16 for 48 in the first half. That's 33% from the field. In the second half, the Warriors 24 for 47, 51% from the field. From downtown, first half, the Warriors 8 for 31. And in the second half, that 8 for 31 is 26%. And in the second half, the Warriors 8 for 20, 40%. So they made the same number of threes in the first half. In the second half, just in the second half, they did it on 11 fewer attempts. So they made their shots. That was really the only difference. The effort, the enthusiasm, the defensive, attention to detail, that was there all game long. It just was the Warriors were not hitting shots in the first half. They scored 47 points in the first half, yet had a lead. That does not happen often in today's NBA. You score sub 50 in a half and win the half. The Warriors did that in the first half somehow, and they ultimately finally hit shots in the second half, and they win the game 111-85. Coming up next for the Warriors is, as I mentioned, as you heard Steve Kerr talk about, tomorrow in Minnesota. It's a 6:30 start time out here, 8:30 local in Minneapolis. 6:30 is the tip time. It is a Peacock game, but you can, of course, always listen to the games here on 95.7 The Game. If you're confused by the TV schedule, as you kind of is natural for basketball fans nowadays with all the Peacock games, the Prime Video games, right? Whatever other streaming options, like you just know no matter what, the game will be here on 95.7 The Game. It's 6:30 tomorrow, which means Warriors Live begins at 5:30 here on 95.7 The Game. We'll, of course, be talking a lot about the Warriors throughout the day as well here on 95.7 The Game. But Warriors in Minnesota tomorrow, tip is at 6:30. Then in Utah on Wednesday at 6. That's the end of this 4-game road trip. The Warriors then return home for a 2-gamer. Detroit at home on Friday, and then Philadelphia next Tuesday. Those are some challenging games, beginning really with today, this Minnesota game. Minnesota again tomorrow, then Utah, then Detroit, then Philadelphia. That is, over the course of these 5 games, 4 pretty darn good basketball teams in Minnesota, Detroit, and Philly. You think you should beat Utah in Utah, although Utah's playing a little bit better of late. They've got two great scorers in Keontae George and Lowry Markkanen. We'll see how that one goes. But this is a challenging stretch for the Warriors, which is why today was so important to get the win, and the Warriors did just that. Again, 111-85 is the final. As we look to tomorrow, and we take a look at who might be playing, you heard Steve Kerr say kind of TBD on Steph Curry. We know for sure no D'Anthony Melton and no Al Horford. That is confirmed as out. They do not play in back-to-backs. Al will not play in back-to-backs all season. There is a chance at some point Melton could get cleared for back-to-backs, but that has not yet happened. I would venture to guess no Steph Curry tomorrow, but that is purely a guess. We shall see. I have no reason to think that Draymond is unable to play, but the Warriors might get to a point where they say, well, if Melton and Horford are not playing and we're also going to hold Steph out, then maybe we might as well hold Draymond out. That's just the way my mind works. It's possible. Don't know that for sure. But no Melton, no Horford, really TBD on everybody else. We also know no Kuminga because, again, the update from the Warriors today as it relates to Jonathan Kuminga is, quote, the MRI confirmed that Kuminga has a bone bruise as a result of the hyperextension injury. His progress will be monitored and a re-evaluation date will be determined in the coming days. If a re-evaluation date has not been determined, then his return date has not been determined. He will not play tomorrow. I personally would be surprised if he played on Wednesday. We'll see maybe for the homestand. Again, that's just me assuming. I do not know that for sure, but we will see how it goes going forward. I can say pretty confidently no Kuminga tomorrow, though, and we'll go from there. But no Kuminga, no Melton, no Horford. We'll see about Steph, and we'll see about Draymond and some others as well. That's what's coming up for the Warriors. You had to get this win. You had to get at least one of these two in Minnesota, and now with the postponement of the game yesterday, which was played today, this becoming a back-to-back for the Warriors. Back-to-backs are very difficult because of what we're talking about exactly with the look-ahead injury report to tomorrow, which is what made this game when Steph was playing, when Melton was playing, when Horford was playing, all the more important. And the Warriors, they got the job done, and they guaranteed themselves at least a split in this little two-game series between the Warriors and the T-Wolves. All right, so the Warriors win. Again, the final score 111-85. The Dubs 26-21. As we look again at the NBA standings, the Warriors are 2 games behind the Suns for the 6th seed, 2.5 games behind the Lakers for the 5th seed, and only 3 games behind the Rockets for the 4 seed. There's not a ton of distance between the 4 spot, which is the Rockets, and the 8 spot, which is the Warriors. Between Houston at the 4, Lakers at the 5, Suns at the 6th, T-Wolves at the 7, and Warriors at the 8. That is 5 teams separated by just 3 games. Today's win means the Warriors only a game and a half behind Minnesota, who are the 7, 2 games behind the Suns, who are the 6, 2.5 behind the Lakers, who are the 5, and again 3 behind the Rockets, who are the 4 seed. As we look at the scores around the Western Conference today, only a couple of games that carry any kind of meaningful implications for the Warriors. It is Heat and Suns from Phoenix, and the Heat have a 10-point lead over the Suns. That is good news for the Warriors. Heat 58 and Suns 48. And the other game with any kind of implications is Nets and Clippers. The Clippers are playing a lot better of late, and they might at some point maybe be on the Warriors' heels. Right now, the Clippers are sitting at 4.5 games behind the Warriors. The Clippers, it's very early in LA versus the Nets. They have a 6-point lead, 16-10. The Clippers at this point aren't really that much of a concern for the Warriors. But if the post-Jimmy Butler struggles continue, post-Jimmy Butler ACL struggles continue, maybe the Warriors get to a point where they're fighting for play-in positioning, and the Clippers very well could factor into that. But those are really the only 2 meaningful scores around the Western Conference today. Pretty simple. You should root for Miami to beat Phoenix. That would do the Warriors a bit of help as they try to see maybe if they can climb out of the play-in tournament. All right, that'll do it for Warriors Wrap Up tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Shout out to my guys behind the glass, Cam Williams and Steven Risotto, for being nimble on their feet. They were all here ready to work tomorrow or yesterday's game, And then we got, of course, the call that it was postponed. They came back here, no questions asked for today's game, so appreciate them as always. Thanks to you as well for tuning in here on Warriors Wrap-Up. Of course, 95.7 The Game, back at it bright and early tomorrow morning with the morning roast with Spadoni and Shasky at 6. Then Steiny and Goo from 10 to 2, and Willard and Dibbs from 2 until Warriors Live begins at 5:30 here on 95.7 The Game. All right, that'll do it tonight. My name is Mark Grandy signing off. Dubs win in Minneapolis, 111-85. I'll talk to you next time right here on 95.7 The Game.
We finally switched to T-Mobile because with them, we can be connected here and there.
Let's watch a movie.
And we have Netflix included to enjoy our favorite shows and movies.